And just before we highlight some of his stats, I do want to comment on something that Imp actually said in their post-game interview where he was, being thankful and super happy. The whole team was humble and thankful. But one line, props to Mata for covering up my mistakes. And it's something that we've been saying time and time again throughout this World Championship. Imp by himself is great. Imp with Mata is exceptional. And Double F, what do you think about something like that to comment, having that support? I know you feel strongly about playing with Afromu and how he helps you out in lane. Can you correlate?
Not even just in lane. Like, I'm sure that Imp didn't just mean just in the game. There's so much meta, just like outside the game, attitude, mentality, just explaining what he thinks about the game and how you're going to play certain matchups, how you're going to play with the rest of your team. The fact that Imp is able to say, thanks for covering up for my mistakes is great. I think that's just the mark of a great team. Everyone covers each other's mistakes, and so then you end up looking like a perfect team when it's time for crunch time. But really, I don't think any of these players are perfect players of their role by any means. It's just they hide their weakness so well, it's impossible to just kind of get those cracks and figure out how to beat them.
Yeah, and Mata was just, a well-deserved MVP award. And just some of his stats, he was placing 1.62 wards per minute. I've got my little Samsung ward right here in honor of Mata, but you can see his last 3 champions as well. Just coming out with an over 10 KDA in a tournament with this many games is pretty spectacular. But for me, what Mata is the best at is the lane swap. And the lane swap is the most complex strategic thing in League of Legends. There's so many different branching outcomes. And the way that he can create pressure on other lanes in a lane swap situation and still balance out and get his top laner ahead is absolutely extraordinary.
And he does that while being part of a shot caller as well. So not only is he controlling what he's doing himself, he's probably guiding his teammates at the same time. If you look at his player cam, he is always talking in some way, shape, or form. So he's guiding his team, telling, okay, you're going to pull that lane right now. You're going to push that lane in a minute. I will be there. We're going to meet up and somehow get these wards deep in the jungle. Dandy, you come over here. Danny's probably asking Mata to come as well. And it's having played that, having attempted that, and having failed so many times at it, it's really beautiful to see how well and how clean they're executing that. It's almost... You don't see any mistakes coming out of the early games in those lane swaps, except when they maybe get brawled or they get skirmished. But from like a strategic point of view, it is always awesome to see them play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's talk about one last player, the only member of the team who was not here last year. The mid laner that I like to say, no one expected to dominate. He was the mid laner that Samsung White needed. They definitely deserved him. From the moment he stepped into the role replacing Dade, it just seems like White sort of accelerated and did a great job.
Yeah, it worked out really well. It was a very smart role swap if you go back last year roughly to do that. And yeah, he is this consistent, well-performing mid lane machine who works in the entity that is Samsung White. Pushes his lane up, comes and joins the roams. He's almost always first out of his lane to go make plays elsewhere. And look, if you leave him to his own devices, he will solo kill you in lane. He will make the big flashy plays himself. And coming into this tournament, I had a really brief discussion with you off camera about like is Dandy or Pawn the better player, and I was suggesting that it was Pawn because his champion pool is so varied, because his styles of play are so numerous that he can fit any hole he wants. You heard him say that in the interview. He just tries really hard, focuses on what he needs to do for his team to win, and I think he's a really good embodiment of that. That he fits whatever mold is there, and it always seems to work.
I want to question the panel because there was a slightly hypey question from Jun on stage saying, right, coming into this tournament, Pawn got a lot of hype for taking down Faker a couple times. Then after taking out Samsung Blue, he received Dade's jacket, absorbing all the powers that comes with it. Is Pawn in the running for best mid laner in the world only with his team or on his own merits? That's my question to the panel. Let's start with Double if you've got...
I think it was, first off, I just think it was more Dade trying to get his jacket to absorb some of Pawn's skill. And the other thing I want to say
he wanted it at the chair at Worlds.
Pawn and Dandy work really well together, I think, because they both adapt so well. Even in an interview, Pawn said, I know when to play aggressive, I know when to play defensive. It was kind of a bland answer, but it really does embody the way Pawn plays super well. This guy knows when he goes for solo kills, knows when to just get a CS lead and farm up on Orianna, for example, and knows when he needs to roam on like Fizz or Jace. He just has such a big variety of skills, and he seems to master it all. I've never seen him really mess up something spectacularly. He's so consistent, and he adapts to everything, so that's why he works well with Dandy.
Yeah, for me, just in terms of taking a player in isolation without his team, I still think Faker is going to be the best. But he's certainly in a conversation for top 3. And for me, it's been so fun to watch this guy because I remember back when he was on the amateur team, MIG Blitz, and he was in Champions, and he was kind of a one-trick pony or two-trick pony on mid Ezreal and Fizz, and didn't have a very deep champion pool. And to see him go from that point to where he is now in about a year and a half has been really, really fun for me to watch as a caster.
It's been really incredible, too. I was looking up on the player a lot more before this World Final, and his most played in Champions Summer was Orianna. About a third of his games over and over and over again, this utility mid laner. Very safe, very bland, but it's always going to be good. Hadn't played it at all until the very last game of Worlds. Oh, my Jace is banned out. I need another aggressive laner who can push all the time in Rome. Guess I'll bring the Orianna back 17 games later. Like, doesn't have to rely on his most played from way back when. And again, it just shows this player can do whatever it takes to win time and time again.
Diversification is something this team has done exceptionally well. We did briefly talk about Imp, but I think he deserves a little bit more focus here from us. He picked up the second most kills for an AD carry at 105. He very noticeably walked up to Uzi during earlier stages of the tournament and actually said to him, while transitioning to the stage, I think you're the best AD carry in the world. And, you know, on stage said, I'm made better thanks to Mata, etc. Crepo, share some thoughts on Imp and how he's impressed you or stepped out or stood out in your mind.
I mean, Imp has been playing really solidly, and yeah, maybe he has to give up that throne to Uzi. We saw the solo kill in the 2v2 coming out of there, which is actually not a solo kill, it's a two-man kill, if I use the terms right. But Imp, he played well. He played the entire tournament. Good synergy with Mata, good synergy with the team. As an AD carry, sometimes you find yourself on another lane, like trying to farm or split push, and he's always in the right place at the right time. That actually shows when he plays Twitch. I think that highlights his game knowledge. He knows exactly when to stealth in, when to open up, and when you see that Twitch engage out of blue when nobody else expects it, that highlights for me a great AD carry because it shows that he understands exactly how far he can push it without getting caught.
Well, I'm gonna bounce off your word highlight in particular because I do feel that sort of summarizes Samsung while we talked about the team, the individual players. They are your 2014 World Champions here, crowned in Seoul, Korea. Of course, there are the flags on the desk. Compliments, of course, of Samsung. And, you know, I agree. I think the guys deserve a round of applause. Cheers to everyone sticking out. I want to transition to something else that we have been doing and something we want to celebrate as well. Is everybody enjoying the show at home? Earlier, we asked you on Twitter, what has been your favorite moment from Worlds? We also asked the analysts, and here's what some of you guys have been saying. First one's from @Sleepless2. C9 almost successfully pulling off the base rush versus Samsung Blue. I kicked my chair back while standing up and yelling at my monitor. Doublelift, I know you got something to say about this. Let's check the play first, and then you can chime in after it.
Gonna get one down. Spirit's taking too low. They're gonna keep on this one. They're gonna go down.
Go for it. He's gonna go low. Tom's doing a jump. Go for the
What? They're up.
They're up. They're up. They're doing it. They're gonna dive in. They've cleared it.
It's just absolutely insane. It just goes to show we're like the West really isn't that far behind of Korea. Just random thought. Just that split-second decisions like that and really tiny things can change the outcome of games. I mean, that Nexus was probably 1 or 2 seconds off from dying, and the fact that Cloud9 was able to make that decision is impressive. The fact that Samsung Blue was able to recover is even more impressive.
I'm not so sure whether I would agree whether they're like so far behind Korea or not. I do think behind the second and third team of Korea, maybe. The average level of gameplay has gone up at Worlds for everybody, including the West. But if you look at how far White was ahead of everybody else, Korea managed to produce one team every year that's just on a completely next level.
Right, that's what I was going to say, is Korea's produced the single best team in the world 2 years running, but the rest of the field is definitely very close, and that's what I look forward to every single time of the World Championship is there that God team every time, and how does the rest of it play out? Because it's always close.
The thing that boggles my mind is you have Cloud9 that's probably the best performing Western team here at Worlds. You have Alliance go do a perfect game against Najee White Shield, then lose to Kaboom in a matchup that, truthfully, they shouldn't have lost. You know, on paper and statistically going in. The World Championship has just had tons and tons of surprises. Everybody stepping up at different times. And, you know, White, they're 3-0 against Blue. That was exceptional itself. Right, let's get the next tweet and we can carry on talking. This one comes from @Christina. Says, my favorite and most heart-striking moment was in Fnatic lost just 1 hit away from victory. Freak, I know you enjoyed those Nexus rushes as well. So let's see the play.
One of the big damage dealers. Going's gonna make it in. Peke's there. Here comes Cyanide as well on the end. They're focused on the Guardian Angel Lasagnas. Can Cyanide slip in as the spike runs this one?
God.
Will they be able to get it? Peke up from the Guardian Angel. A few more hits. Will this really happen?
They didn't get it.
They saved the Nexus.
And I can't believe how close that was. So many things could have gone differently just as the Cloud9 one. And I think that game would have meant they would have guaranteed a spot in the quarterfinals. Maybe they would have taken OMG's spot. They would have been the team to take down Shield. Maybe they could have beaten Royal Club. Maybe they could have gone back to their final. Like, so many what ifs for like a Rumble to going somewhere else or one more auto attack. Like, it sums up how close Worlds was this year.
And also, if you step back and look at Fnatic, taking a game of Samsung Blue, also very surprising, extremely well executed, loads of single target spells, but then questionable play elsewhere. Fnatic traditionally doing so well on the international stage, but dropping the ball this year.
Well, but that's what makes, in a tournament like this, is that's consistency. You're going to have teams drop a game. It's extraordinary to have a team go through a tournament like SK Telecom K did in Champions Winter last year without losing a game. Like, that is virtually unheard of. When we have these group stages, it's very easy to drop a game, and it almost never happens that somebody's able to go through the entire way undefeated. But that's what sets you apart. That ability to make the most of those opportunities and just be that consistently good team.
We'll have to see if some of the other Western squads can find some consistency before the next big international tournament. Right, our next tweet comes to it from at Zetsubo. He tweets, aside from the Kaboom win, Game 2 of Samsung White versus TSM with the Singed pick was a total surprise. Probably the one I enjoyed the most. Crepo, this was actually your favorite moment that we were talking about all fair. So let's pull a clip up. And Crepo, you talk us through some of the actions and some of the things that really impressed you about this play in this game.
Yeah, basically, the beauty in this play was sometimes teams do something strategically that's just beyond my understanding. TSM actually initially invaded, and then White turned that around. Danny went all the way around, forced him off his blue buff, then went steal the enemy blue buff, went back to his blue buff. They somehow got teleport advantage as well. If you look at Dyrus, his TP is down right now. And then amazing, he feels forced to get his second buff here. Good patience by Danny, comes in, forces them out, and Looper, he's ready to TP in. And I never knew you could turn around and invade on your own buff into a 3 buff using a Singed who actually went to proxy farm before actually the invade came out. Just all these little factors coming together showed you why White is absolutely the best team-playing team in the world right now.
And while just at the end of the clip, we do see Pawn getting that 1v1 in Bjergsen. Only reason I want to highlight that is not only was the play and the teamwork fantastic, Pawn in an interview with Jat a little while ago was like, I really liked killing Bjergsen. He was very excited about that.
I mean, Crepo, you're kind of a jerk. That was my favorite play, too. I really enjoyed that just because what I love the most about watching League of Legends is when we have a team that can do something that you've never seen before. That's the hallmark of truly great players, of truly great teams. There's no way they've been in this situation before. They think creatively so well on the fly, and they pull out a big team fight win like that.
And that play actually made me look back at Worlds last year and then think about is there a play like that? And yes, there was. There was SKT taking those 3 towers, 1 inhibitor with the elite spinaling, juggle, aggro, and just completely surprising the world. There was nobody that thought you could take 3 towers and an inhibitor at 14 minutes. Not on a professional level, definitely not on a world stage. And every year there has been this one play that just boggles my mind strategically. How can you achieve that? How can you think about that? And it just makes me really happy that League has been playing at such a high level.
And that's why I like the base races so much. There's almost no way you can prepare for them and be like, okay, yeah, so in these exact situations we will base race. It's all instinct. It's all feel. It's all saying, well, okay, so if we use Braum's shield, I think we can block Twitch damage. And yeah, and you just hope that you guessed properly. And we see how close these situations come because of pure intuition, which is amazing to watch.
Yeah, Double Lift, what is your favorite clip? I know you submitted some thoughts going forward in terms of it. I'll help remind you. Sahorn Royal Club versus OMG.
Right.
10K gold down. Let's get that clip on your
There was
screen.
an impossible comeback that I was actually, during the game, said was impossible. Sahorn Royal Club versus OMG. It was like a 10,000 gold deficit. And I was thinking, wow, how ridiculous would it be if Sahorn was able to win this? They lost. They just straight up lost. You can't come back from a 10K gold deficit. And right here, if we can just roll the clip, it's just insane that they're playing this far up on the map when they're this far down in gold. I actually lied. It's a 14,000 gold deficit, and they just initiate on a tier 2 tower. Who dives aggressively when not only are you outnumbered, but you're down 13,000 gold, and they managed to come back just from this single play alone.
And the fact that Instinct managed to somehow survive that, going down to 1% and then back up, is just absolutely insane.
Yeah, Fiddle's one of the first champions I ever started playing, and it's fun to see him played better than I've ever seen him played before. It was great. Speaking of champions playing better than I've ever seen him before, I want to talk about Uzi's Twitch. His series against EDG was a series where Double and I were like, All right, Uzi's the best AD carry in the world. That's undeniable anymore if we can pull that clip up. He gets a quadra kill against Edward Gaiman to keep them alive, basically. And he just manages to find a way to turn this fight around. Back jukes a hook, doesn't quite dodge it, but his team is built around protecting him. The Janna shields are on point. And the big hallmark of Uzi, the way I can tell it's Uzi playing, is he flashes in for kills for like an auto attack. Like there's not even extra CC he can provide. His W is on cooldown, but he's like, it's enough. I could chase him down. And he's always right.
Mostly right, up until the finals. Manages to work out, of course, but no, you are right. I'm being an unfair.
Talk about his decision-making.
Uzi played phenomenally, and the number of times you see him flashing skill shots to survive and secure more kills on Tristana for resets is mind-blowing.
I just want to see which 4 friends Uzi will bring to Worlds next year.
Yeah,
Pick me.
The double AD carry team. Well, you know, for me, since Krepo stole mine, one of the things that I really enjoyed wasn't necessarily a flashy play, but it was the Akali lane swap by Looper on Samsung White against Samsung Blue. And why it's so impressive is that's an extraordinary difficult champion to play in a lane swap situation, so you have to get this Akali some kills early. And the way they do that and the setup that they've got here, coming into the bottom side of the jungle, where they actually manage to make it work, is pretty awesome. And I guess we're not actually going to see any kills right there. Here we go. We're going to see a dragon.
The highlights, yeah.
It's
the highlight of
Looper's marathon, man.
It's my favorite part of League of Legends, walking around the jungle and out-rotating your opponent without any kills whatsoever.
I mean, this is the cool thing about his play around Akali. I think actually Akali is a little bit more level-based than gold-based. You can see this by looking at her builds. They're usually very utility-focused. She doesn't need items to crush, and then shows up and crushes.
And I guess the whole point of that is just illustrating that despite Looper not being in lane getting CS, they still find ways to keep him relevant. Get the dragon, teleport down, get the double kill.
Yeah, at that point, he had kept up it well enough in CS, and that's really a display of Samsung White's patience in these lane swap scenarios. They waited for that kind of multi-stealth composition to unveil, and then there was no answer really from Samsung Blue.
I actually really love pocket picks, and when Looper first pulled out Akali and Cassidy in top lane, I was like, that's probably not going to work. They're probably going to lose, because how much could they possibly have practiced with these little pocket picks? And he just crushes. He does extremely well. And then looking at Insect, Fiddlesticks, Pantheon, Rammus in the finals, those things win you games. When you're just that confident and your team trusts in you, then you can just make those plays happen. It's just insane to watch.
See, yeah, Monty, he referenced the Mata roaming in the lane swap. He referenced Danny, how he plays it. He referenced how Looper plays it. And what I like the most about White is that they don't play their lane swap the same every time. If you look back, say half a year ago, we had the 4v0 meta coming out in NA, and literally every game started the same way. 2 towers, and then we'll start the game. But White finds a way to basically read the game, say, okay, this is what we need today. This is what we're going to do. We're going to fast push that tower. We're going to freeze that wave. We're going to roam to the other side of the map. We're going to 4-man deny somebody off a turret. And they use all those different strategies in exactly the right cases, and they rarely, if ever, get behind from a lane swap. And that highlights a really good strategical team.
Yeah, and Double F, I want to bounce off what you said about the pocket picks. And my read on this as well is Samsung White are one of the few teams who actually react to and look at the metagame properly. The metagame is what everyone else is playing. It's up to you to play what you want, knowing everyone else plays these 4 champions in these 5 roles, and saying, yes, when you play Maokai, I will play Singed. I don't cast spells in lane. I don't give you sap magic, so I'll out-sustain you and out-damage you. Wonderful pick. Makes a whole lot of sense. You expect Maokai to come through. Akali against Kayle is just a very good counterpick matchup. Knows a champion will come through by his 2 major opponents, the 2 Korean top laners he would be facing against, were both Kayle players, has Akali ready. Down the line, these guys have prepared these types of champions that work in these types of scenarios. The Rammus and Pantheon that we saw from Insect in this finals work very well against ward control because they both bypass wards by either lane ganking or skyfalling. They're reacting to the way they expect the game to play in front of them, have things ready for it, and that's why they're practiced. It's beautiful.
It really, really is. Guys, thank you so much. And, thank you to everybody who wrote in. If you're not already, be sure to follow us on Twitter. We are at LOL Esports. Keep the conversation going. Use #Worlds. Celebrate our world champions and your favorite moments. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been an incredible journey. We would like to extend a special thank you to the cities that have graciously hosted us throughout Worlds. Taipei, Singapore, Busan, and of course, Seoul. You guys have provided the setting for an amazing experience that will soon not be forgotten. And to all the fans who've turned up, made the trip, cheered, supported their teams like these diehards behind us, thank you. None of us would be here without you. None of it would be possible without the love, the support, and the passion that you guys show all year long. That concludes our coverage here from Seoul. Once again, a special thank you to all of our guest analysts on behalf of the casters and the rest of the live broadcast crew. Thank you guys for watching. Good night, GG, and we'll see you soon.
And thank you, Quick Chow.
Thank you.